Well, it's like being at like the Grand Canyon or something, because it's like, it's so overwhelmingly huge. It doesn't necessarily translate into a painting. You know, you've got to find a way to give it some shape. And so I shoot so much because it's not till I get back that I can really see, you know, what I've actually, what might be pictorial. This place across the street is something I'd seen 1,000 times. And then one day I was just staring out this window, and something about the bustle of activity there just caught my attention, and I just sort of got inspired, and I got up, walked out the door, and there it was. I've been doing recycling imagery probably four years plus. I like to paint scrap material of any kind, and I don't have an agenda about that. I began with paper, and then I found a couple of metal places that were very interesting, very exciting. I discovered a place that recycles neighborhood material, and they have glass, they have plastic, they have cardboard and paper. And now I'm actually doing some research into auto salvage yards. I don't try to define in any way what I'm doing. I sort of move from one thing to the next. This looks interesting, investigate it, and then see what the possibilities are. This is so incredibly complicated. I'd like to climb up there, but I know I can't. If only I could hover above this pile. Yeah, I got it. He's just piling it up.
That's right.
Okay, he's not taking it anywhere.
Not right now.
I'd love to get in there, but I mean, is he gonna be doing that for a while? He's gonna mess up that, oh, it's gone.
Well, there's another bale there.
I could spend like hours right here. Okay, so I should get these bales while he's, oh man, look at this. It's like some kind of weird sculpture. This is so great.
Well, it was pretty exciting the first time he called us and asked could he get some pictures. His studio's across from our plant here. He watched what went on here for several years, and it intrigued him, and he was going to do some paintings on these industrial type settings. And to see what he did with it was really something. It was terrific. But his enthusiasm to do it is like a little kid. Gets pretty excited. It just, clicker doesn't work quick enough.
Okay. Let me just get one over here. And it's surprisingly exciting. It's like getting struck by lightning. It really was. I usually spend several hours at a time at places with my camera. I just kind of go crazy. And because I can't always get back right away to a place, I try to shoot as much as I can, and I try not to censor it too much because I'm never quite sure what's going to come out. This stuff's great, this colored stuff. Geez, look at this. It's like, it looks like it looks like the craft room in our house. One of the things I like about photographs is they are a specific moment. They capture that sense of the momentary. I always found setting up outside and painting to be very confusing. The chaos of everyday life was a bit overwhelming to me. You know, I'm sort of a control freak, so this kind of gives me some sense of control over that chaos that you see in the piles. I'm making a drawing of a magnet that they use to toss around and move the scrap metal at lots of these different scrap metal facilities, and it's on the end of a crane. I've taken the crane out because I like the idea that the magnet was sort of attached to the top of the image. Well, I always thought of myself as a realist painter, but I think of this work as also emotionally charged. For example, the magnet images, I mean, they're like tossing this junk around, but it does feel figurative to me, both in terms of the gesture of the swinging magnet and the flying debris suggests a kind of ballet-like, graceful kind of movement, which seems really contrasting with the subject. I have lots of photographs of the magnet. None of them are really the source. Some of them are I mean, I take parts of, I like the shape of the magnet was probably taken from this. The drawings are in no way studies for the paintings, although they can function like that occasionally, but they're not done in that spirit. They're done as their own thing, and they're sort of parallel tracks. The drawings inform the paintings, and the paintings inform the drawings, because the photographs, in some ways, are the studies. So the big bottle painting that I did last year was the biggest thing by far I've ever done. It was the most complicated image I've ever done. That was in the MIA, and that was sort of the centerpiece of the exhibition. It filled one wall. And I knew when I got the MAEP show that I wanted to do one large painting on one wall. It was one of the best things I've ever done. And so I want to do more large-scale work like that, mural-sized work. When I began working with this subject matter, I was looking to historical landscape painting. But now I'm more interested in abstract expressionist painting, which was an early love of mine. It's one of the reasons I wanted to be an artist, was that painting. For the bottles, for example, are not so centralized, they're not so hierarchical. They're not based on light and dark oppositions, chiaroscuro. They're more democratic, they're flatter, they're more fields. And while there are focal points, there isn't necessarily a central focus. It's certainly a reference to that kind of painting, Jackson Pollock, for example, but it's also, to me, really in harmony with the material, which really doesn't have a center. We're seeing one small section of an endless pile that is going off in space and time, and that just feels right. I find this material beautiful. I just find it wonderful to look at and wonderful to paint. It's a challenge to paint too, so it's stretching me. But I think on an emotional level, I identify somehow with this material. It's stuff that we use and then we toss away and we don't think about it again. When I look at the material at its end state, it has a different kind of beauty, a beauty that seems more authentic to me because it contains the history of its use, its life, and it has a kind of particularity. Each bottle has its own character, and I also think that once they've been used and tossed off, they are a kind of authentic portrait, in a way, of the society that has created them and used them. I remember when I was a kid making a drawing with some ink you take out of a bottle, and I was drawing with the pen and I made a mistake and a bunch of ink spilled. And I remember looking at that and thinking, uh-oh, I messed up. And the next thing I did is I blew on the ink. I just started blowing it around the page. I don't know what possessed me to do that, but it made this really cool drawing. I still have it. That was sort of a revelation. And so it's like there's structure to what I do, and I have a daily routine, and I have my subject matter. But within that, I try to court sort of accidents, and I try to create conditions for unexpected things to happen. And that's just a lot of fun.
Minnesota Original is made possible by the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.